pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry. Oh, no, that's quite good. Got you.
We have minutes from May 20th meeting for approval. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May 20th.
Hank, do you have other copies of them?
We didn't
Oh.
get
Oh.
minutes.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
there. Okay.
I am sorry.
It's all right.
Saw that. Come on, Rick.
Yes, that's one.
Thanks.
Oh, okay, the whole thing.
You can take a minute. and
Okay.
go over that. Everything looked good to me.
Still accepting a motion? Motion to accept the
Second.
minutes is read.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We'll have an OPM report about the bills.
Okay, the summary you have before you, the first one, oh, you know, Fontaine's in there. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to fill it in.
Yeah.
But Fontaine Brothers requisition number 17 for the month of May. They're looking for $2,101,341.69. Let me write that down. And that invoice is dated, which date did I use? End of the month or the date it's signed?
Yeah, I just collected it.
3/31, 3/30, I'm sorry,
Five.
5/31, number 17. Okay. That is for all the work done to date and is inclusive of change order 11, right? Would be in there?
Yep.
Includes change order 11, which we have here, to be signed by the group. These were all previously approved PCOs that have now been summarized into the change order. So we will have a couple, oh, that's the one you gave them?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
okay.
which you have there. And that's that one. Second one on the list is for Collier's, for our OPM services for the month of May. Invoice number 002438, dated 5/31/19, in the amount of $36,447. SMMA for their monthly requisition as architect. Invoice number 50834, dated 6/10/19, the amount of $68,669.64. That's for the architectural services to date. Intech, they are doing all our various window testing and things like that, curtain wall testing. They're also the same people who are here today doing that whole building test, which will be a separate invoice, probably next month. So it's the first invoice for Intertech is number 280109, dated 5/31, in the amount of $2,500. And that is for window testing, as I mentioned, as well as the second invoice, 280111, dated 5/31, also in the amount of $2,500. Finally, we have Templeton Light and Power and Water, invoice for low flow. This must have been on site, I don't recall which one this was. They were on site to work with Gagliarducci turning off water so that they can do work out in the
Oh,
street.
right, yeah.
This is more or less their bill for it. Dated 6/7/19 for $293.83, as well as another one from Templeton Light and Water for high flow, dated 6/17/19, $282.21. One of them was probably for the hydrant in South Road when they had to come over there to shut it off. And that is it. Are there any, have any questions on this?
I have a motion to accept the bills as read.
So moved?
Have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay.
Any updates?
Project updates? Have I got updates? All right.
Yeah.
We have a lot of updates here. First of all, the project's going very well, as we've been saying fortunately all along. I mentioned today we're doing a whole building test, which is pressurizing the entire building to see if there's any kind of leakage of air. And, if so, they'll have to locate it and repair it. So that's going on right now. But meanwhile, all ceilings are done, all classroom flooring is done. They're about halfway down the first floor corridor now with flooring. So by the end of the week, I think we could safely say all the flooring in the building will be finished. Painting is an ongoing thing, mainly touch-ups and areas that we just haven't gotten to, back of the house stuff that wasn't critical to do, up front. That's ongoing. We're currently having furniture, FF&E being delivered, uncrated, installed, distributed. We've got a lot of that in. We've had update on that kitchen servery, those replacement. They're saying by the end of July, and they're gonna get right on it, so good possibility first week of August, they should be in.
Yeah.
So, we still have a 3-week cushion, so I think we're good with that. Timing was good that we got it in when we did. We are doing some commissioning, some serious commissioning is next week the 25th? Yeah, next week. They're talking about commissioning a whole bunch of equipment between Tuesday and the end of the week, I believe, or Thursday. All sorts of testing and into the following week, so they're really ramping up now with the commissioning of equipment. You may want to get, we can talk again, Rick. See how much you want to get involved in that. or
Yeah,
not.
I'd like to be there when they're doing it.
Give you a chance to talk to all the various people involved.
Yeah.
One of the only best thing to say is what's going on right now is they're building that wood wall on stair 1. The flooring, there's not much going on anymore except little odds and ends of any exterior, obviously, site work, that's a big one. Curbing has been going in, granite curbing, they're gonna put the granite along the drop-off on South Road tomorrow. Pretty much everything on the police department side is done, curbing-wise, with the exception of just a little turn-in radius piece at the apron area. There's gonna be more paving next week, topping of everything that's been paved so far, of the 3, the drop-off, the playground, and the, what was number 3?
Basketball area.
Basketball, thank you. They're all gonna be topped next week sometime. So, within the next couple of weeks, you're gonna see pretty much everything outside finish up. Fences will be pretty much the last thing.
Oh, on the Wellington Road side, where the parking area is?
Yeah.
What's gonna be on that embankment there?
It's gonna be sodded, and there'll be
Oh.
tree, right, kinda where the embankment levels out,
Right,
it's gonna be trees.
trees there, right against the building, I noticed,
Grass,
I'm not sure, okay,
or sod maybe. I
There's
think it's
something
all
there.
sod. Everything's sod now that
yeah,
we've, other than the 2 areas we did, the rest was sod.
yeah, okay.
So, they're just waiting for them to get the loam. They wanna get the curbing in, cause the curbing allows
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
concrete guy to get his sidewalks done. So that's one's driving the other, and
Yeah.
as soon
And
as
those
they
are
get
just about done,
that,
right?
they're gonna
Yep.
Yeah, there'll be a sidewalk also parallel to South Road, parallel to that drop-off area, you know, connecting police station and the other end. And playgrounds will start later in July, the actual playground equipment on that side. And, you know, we're rolling, you know, so, in short, really, the building, by the end of June, you could say it's 99%, last 1% being just odds and ends to be straightened out, punch list items. And by the end of July, the site work would be done, because a lot of the street work, the repaving, the milling, and all that sort of stuff, and the work up at the intersection, at the,
Yeah.
you know, the point there, it's all gonna be late July, starting around July 28th. Of course, weather's gonna be a factor,
Yeah,
but
depending on weather.
that's when they're shooting for, to get all that paving done, and let's call it end of July, very beginning of August, if it overlaps a little bit. But by end of July, that place is gonna look ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, you could look at it and say, wow, it looks done. It'll just be odds and ends,
Punch list stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it's going well.
The trash compactor, no, the trash
Yeah, compactor.
compactor.
That's bought under FF&E, isn't it? Or is it?
I don't believe it was bought. Or the project,
maybe
is
you
that
don't buy
supplied?
them.
I know, I was
Don't buy the
questioning
bait.
that a couple
Let me-
weeks ago, because I
I'm
didn't
talking
know.
about the
what-
outside one. I'm talking about the.
Yes,
the
I mean,
loading dock.
Okay.
We have
Yeah.
one at the loading dock, or
Yeah.
there's one scheduled for there, you know, the power is there, the spot is theoretically, you know,
Yeah.
allocated for that.
I guess that was a question I had. I didn't know if we owned that, or if that's something we're gonna have to contract out to whoever, through,
I don't know.
I remember discussing it during design. I thought it was gonna be contracted out, but what we had talked about, but let me go back and look into that, and I can look at what was bought through equipment. And
yeah, I gotta know
is that something that can be, I mean,
Well, I can, I mean, like, right now, I had a one-year contract with Waste Management for the
Yep.
last year. We had 3-year previous to that, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going with Waste Management again. I'm getting hounded by other
vendors?
firms
Yep.
that wanna do business with us.
Competition, good.
And they're asking me that, you know, are we leasing it from them? Does the town own it? I said, I don't know.
I can let you know, let me go back and I'll let you know what we had discussed during design. If it changes, we'll have to address it, yeah.
How do we stand, and maybe you've had that conversation since we met a couple weeks ago up there, about that 3M window covering?
Okay, well, that was on the list.
Segue.
Might as well segue into that. Jen has prepared a proposal request to be given out once we've had this conversation with the group, and, you know, the group has more or less approved it. A few weeks ago, we met, Rick, Emily, and I, Sean Sawicki, and someone else there?
The fire chief.
Fire
That's
yeah.
right. Chief Dickey was there. And the conversation went around and came up to security and things like that, and all the glass on the first floor that is just, you know, vulnerable in this day and age. And I think I had mentioned, well, possibility of the film, and, you know, everybody kind of jumped on that as you had a good idea. So there are multiple companies that make it. 3M is one of the bigger ones. SMMA has used different ones before, and they're gonna specify a few. I'm not sure which ones they're gonna select. I don't have a price on it right now, but it's gonna be pricey. I mean, not $100,000 pricey or anything like that, but I bet it's every bit of $20,000-$30,000 possibly. And right now, what the concept of what we're protecting is gonna be the entryway glass and the 2 glass doors.
Yeah.
The perimeter exterior glass doors, even though they are laminated glass and will hold together better than the tempered glass would, which will just shatter into pieces.
Yeah.
This will give you buy you a little more time in those vulnerable areas. You know, they could be, you don't want somebody wailing on the door, you don't even see them if you're not looking at the camera or at the, so it just give you a little more. Plus, it's gonna be side lights at all the classroom doors, because all you have to do is break that, reach in and open the doorknob, and you're in. So there's a weak link to be dealt with. In a few cases where we have breakout rooms, like my old office, there was a little window from my office looking into the breakout room. Well, the breakout room we're not gonna do because we just feel after discussions that people are just gonna vacate it and go right into classrooms and lock down. And no one's gonna run back, so, oh, I forgot to close the breakout room and lock it. Therefore, those two little windows on either side, and there's only like 4 or 6 in the whole building, they would also be weak links because they get you right in. So we're doing that. We're not doing the view windows because they're kind of high up. And that takes an extra amount of effort and time to try and get up there. And so we felt, and Sean was on board with all of this, you know, and he's spoken to his sergeant who told him, you know, I'm on board with everything you decide here, and the chief is behind him. So I guess that's one of the things you guys have to decide tonight, if, at least to authorize us to go forward to get the pricing on it, and we'll come back to you obviously with a price, but it's a timing thing. I mean, you wanna get this in before school starts, just not because you're anticipating something right away, as much as get it over with, get it behind you, eliminate the disruption in the beginning of school that you don't need with people in the building doing stuff, and, you know, you wanna be taking over 100% then, so,
All right, I'll take a motion to move forward on that.
I make a motion that, to move forward with the covering for the windows.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Right.
okay.
Okay.
Now, since we're not meeting for a month, I mean, we're gonna probably try to expedite this. We're gonna get this thing out, like, tomorrow, let's say, right? And try and get a price real quickly from,
I mean, the subcommittee moved it up to 25, right, so we could technically move forward.
yeah, I
Okay.
guess so,
Yeah.
yeah, right, okay. That's why I just worry about whether we'd have to come
Yeah.
back.
And we can call a meeting if we have to.
We're gonna have them break down the pricing so that if we had to maybe just do
Prioritize.
one, yeah. we
Gotcha.
can Figure it out once we get pricing.
Right, okay. I have other things on my list, but I didn't know if you had any other
No.
questions following up on that report.
Why don't you go through your list, and if you don't hit what I have questions on, then I'll ask you
Okay.
after.
Yeah, I think that's best.
So we talked about requisition and change order. Dedication, building dedication. We sent out, to you, Emily, or who did we send the previous, you know, the old,
I sent it to Chris and
Oh,
Emily, I
okay.
think, just
Yep.
some sample
all right, so you've got
programs.
some
Yeah, sample
examples of,
program.
Yeah.
programs and, you know, how the events have been staged and how they
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
and all that sort of stuff, to start thinking about. We have dates out there, I believe, of October 4th and 11th, or something along those lines from MSBA. And I think it's really more in the hands of you folks to take that ball and run with it.
Yeah.
There's nothing really that we can do. Obviously, we're here to assist you in any way, questions, you need help, but we can't pull this thing together for you, so.
Put that on my to-do list.
Just add it to the
Don't
fifth
hesitate.
page you have.
Just organize, get a group together.
Yeah, we've had people who would love to be part of it, so no,
Yeah.
that's,
That's not a
Great.
problem.
Okay.
I feel good about it, so.
Okay.
But thank you for those, that was,
Got- yeah.
that was
And
excellent.
What, if you need anything else, and like Jen has offered, any kind of graphic things
Yeah.
that you might need, and between us all, we'll get it done for sure. Time capsules. I know Diane has the Salem time capsule, we're getting there. We're getting to that point where they're gonna, within probably the next 2 weeks, we're gonna need that. So, you know, I think you guys have to figure out who's actually gonna put that in place, like
You mean
physically,
Oh,
yeah,
I
go
see.
out there, you
Oh.
know, the ground will be all loosened
the one
up.
at the playground?
It's going in the side right next to, like, kinda, right next to, only 'cause we can't dig into the
In the
asphalt.
Salem,
I thought
Salem
Diane-
playground.
Yeah, she has it. we
Okay,
just-
okay, I got you.
we just
It's
get
going
to
Diane
south.
start
has
what
it,
we're
we
going
just
to.
need someone to physically,
Right, and I
But-
got the impression, and I don't know if it's really that critical, you know. you don't want the whole world knowing where it's
No,
going.
no, no.
So if
Right.
somebody from the committee wants to pop in there one evening, dig a little hole, drop it in, just, well, I mean, I don't know how else to do it without too many people
Well,
knowing
yeah.
about it,
Have the highway or somebody, we'll figure it out.
Like Facebook.
so.
I wanna talk to Diane about that, because I was under the impression that she was,
Yeah, we'll figure out how we did the first time.
yeah,
Just
she
do it
was
again.
definitely in charge of it, like she was
Right,
gonna
right.
handle all of it, so I
Right.
definitely wanna,
So I haven't seen her, so
right,
maybe you can
Yep,
Yep.
start
absolutely.
talking it up, letting them know, we're probably talking within the next couple of weeks, this really happening, so. And on time capsules, the new time capsule, of course, figuring out what's going in it, that I know you've been.
Recommendations are starting to come in.
Good.
So,
We have a
I don't know
couple.
if even maybe the opening ceremony might be a good time to.
That's what I was gonna ask next, was when you wanted to put it in, would it be, that would be a good time.
I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
As well as, did you want some kind of a plaque? I don't know if it was you who said,
We talked about it, and my recommendation was to not make it too obvious, because whoever's in charge of that building for years to
Be
come
very
might have to
tempted.
be asked several times, especially by
yeah, I
children.
mean, they could say, do not open till
Yeah.
Right, we could do that
83,
too.
Yeah.
or something. But that
Oh,
doesn't,
it's probably like 2021 when they tear it down, so.
21?
21.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
It'll last that long.
Say it. But you
That'll
have
be in
faith
the
in us.
Hank the Eternal
Behind-
Optimist.
The old plaque is going over
Yes.
it, so
Right.
it's.
And I've gotta get
you
hold
could
of, I
almost
gotta
just-
see that plaque, because it turns out this is a lockable cabinet that it's going in, and the lock sticks out, not quite a quarter inch. And I don't know if that back of that plaque is, like, has a little recess in it, if it's set in.
I
If we
talked to
have to,
Frank
we
too.
could build
They
a little
can-
picture
yeah.
frame
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah,
Figure it out.
But
we'll
Just
figure that
tape
I
out.
the
just wanted
key
to
to
have
the
it
back
done
of
in
it, so
time.
I
you
got
don't
a
lose the
Dremel.
key.
We'll just-
That's something Rick could do, so.
Okay,
They had
So-
some,
anyway, you could think about whether you want a plaque or not. Kitchen equipment, we spoke about that, dedication. All right, well, one now thing, substantial completion, I'm gonna give that to Jen.
just one question before,
Yes.
where the clock was gonna go. I've been asked if we could come up with some kind of, like we've done on the historical things.
Murals.
Yeah, have some kind of small mural, maybe of the clock and some other stuff.
that's what, that's
Picture of the clock.
someone said to
Picture
draw
of
the
the
clock
clock.
in the,
Or, it's
Have the
stuff
kids
related
paint
just to the
something.
yeah,
school.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you wanna know where it is, go to
Oh,
historical.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so,
Put directions like a
out to
GPS
lunch.
thing.
one of the things that we found when we were just cleaning, honestly, is we have, and I told the Historical Society about this, but we have this school committee minutes from 1888
Oh,
on.
Oh,
Found them in
yeah,
a book,
yeah.
a couple. It's, again, it was kept in an, again, so it was kept, not probably the best of ways, wasn't our issue, but I wanna talk to them to see if, how could, maybe those could be displayed somehow. I realize it has to be pressure treated, not pressure treated, pardon me, it's gotta be, temperature
Laminated.
controlled or something when it comes to, obviously, paper,
Yeah,
but,
Moisture and all that.
yeah, so I,
Brian Tangway has a good handle on a lot of that
yeah,
archival kind of stuff. He had spoken to me about why, just, in talking,
yeah,
and, he might be the guy to talk to.
right.
Yeah.
So I have those, and we
Yeah,
found,
he's
like I
gonna
said, we
have a
found
clock.
them, and I thought that would be at least one, if there were a couple things in there, that
Oh,
would
yeah,
certainly be
a
one.
display of old memorabilia.
Yeah,
from
you
the
know what I mean,
schools
kind of
and
like
stuff.
Display case.
a display case,
Yeah,
thank you.
which we have a lot of display cases anyway.
Yeah,
Oh, that's.
but that would be a neat thing
That's-
for a school
yeah.
committee or administration, cause it's in
Like
the
in-
office.
Like in Baldo, there's a little plaque for the library, Pete Farrell,
Yes.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
stuff you
Yes,
wanna
we were
keep.
actually, that's one of the things we thought about putting in the
Yeah,
dump.
I mean, just
Yeah.
that, yeah. Well, no,
good
but
idea.
that would be
Yeah,
a
no,
good
but that,
display.
you're right.
So maybe have a little glass door made, just a frameless glass door
Yeah.
that goes in, that you can update this with some shelving, and you can update it with new
Yeah.
memorabilia or,
I know at work, we
change
got a
it.
display of MIT stuff that they had during World War II and stuff, cause it's just out in the hallway and it's all different little things, and so you could do something like that.
It'd be nice if it was stuff that would catch the kids' interest,
yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
Probably not the
And-
school committee reports.
Well,
A little
just-
knick-knack, or whatever, you know.
Just, I'm working here.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just trying to help.
Be a piece of the track or something.
Or maybe you do have, like a little mural of the clock
Right.
on the back
On the back
wall,
wall.
but forward of that, some kind of
Yeah.
memorabilia, and
We
that
could
becomes
change
just
it
a
out.
backdrop
Yeah, yeah.
to the
Front camera, so I
the
keep
other
my
stuff,
comments
the
to myself.
tchotchkes that you
Yeah,
might
yeah,
put up
yeah.
there. Yeah, so,
And that
it's
can
all
be
food
ongoing.
for
It
thought.
doesn't have to be done right away, but as we move forward, something we can look at.
As school committee
Should we
members,
look at it as part of the project, or
thinking maybe,
as
no,
something just
I don't know.
adding?
Lion State,
Timeline.
like that, we just.
I assume you would want this done for school to be open,
Yeah, well, yeah, well,
all right? So
at least some of it, I mean,
So
the
you-
I
beginning,
think it's the
got-
mural.
the mural part, at
Yeah.
least.
The mural
We can
part, we
add
started
on.
to
less
think
than
about.
2.5 months.
Yeah.
Figure it
I
out and
think
get it done,
Yeah, it would be a timing.
especially if we're gonna have something built in some way, whether it's glass or
That's,
frames or
The lead
wood.
time.
we need to talk
The
about
wood
that.
would
'cause
wanna match the
I had thought
furniture that's
about
in there.
that. I had thought about the,
I think a nice glass
the
case,
shelves, you know, the
shelving
glass,
and-
right, and
Maybe
then
there's
change.
a base that fits in tight, made out of wood to a certain height, you know, that
Oh,
matches all the others.
okay, yeah.
And that becomes the platform that this
Yeah.
thing sits on, the
Yeah.
podium or pedestal, and the upper half
I
is
like that idea.
glass,
Yeah.
maybe.
You could change out those type of things.
can be
as-
removed
for whatever. I
periodically.
just,
Yep.
for me, I think.
Yeah, you can take out, add
Yeah,
as
add or
the years
whatever.
go on, you know, like, they have the 100th anniversary celebration up there. you
Yeah,
can-
I think that'd be a good idea, do something on that idea.
Yeah.
Make a little
Well,
door at the
19.
bottom if you wanted with the little,
Well-
small lock, if you wanted to put something in there
Yeah, that's
Right.
exactly, yeah.
and not lose the space.
And update it,
You know,
as
I would
years
ask-
go on.
Historical Society, since our clock is on loan
Yeah.
over there, if they wouldn't mind maybe rotating some items,
Yeah, there you
school
go.
items through.
Be a great idea.
You know what I mean? Just, again,
Yep.
I forgot knick-knacky or whatever
Yeah,
it's called,
something
but I think
kids would
that would
get
be
a
an
kick out
interesting
of.
thing, would just kind of rotate through.
Yeah, with all the history there is between the state and local colonial era, you know, the kids studying history, maybe things could tie in with what's being studied at the time, that month, or,
Well, we can look
Figure
at
that out.
a couple different options,
Yeah.
keeping in mind just the timing left of this, and
Yep.
then
Yep.
Sounds good.
circulate that.
But we will get on that, right, we'll talk about that. I wanna solidify that. I don't wanna just be a gap, so.
and just maybe think that, when we talk about timing, maybe it doesn't have to be ready for first day of school, but maybe for the opening.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
sure, yeah.
that
Exactly.
gives
Oh,
you
absolutely.
another
Right.
month,
Right. Yep.
you know, if you wanna make that part of the whole thing
Yep.
somehow.
Sounds good.
All right, substantial completion, I guess.
So as Matt said, you know, we're moving along, and so one sort of step in the process is issuing substantial completion forms. This is a contractual document that, you know, says the building is substantially complete, you know, for occupancy and for such. So we've talked internally, and I think we would probably just like the building committee, I guess, to approve this, but to issue the substantial completion for the building itself.
Mm.
Now, we just, you noticed Matt had sort of listed out a couple things that are still, work still going on. So attached to this, we exclude what's not complete.
Right.
And we attach the punch list that we've created, as well as Fontaine generated it, we also added to it. And then they've also put together a list of items of work to be completed, and they've put dates attached to it. So that would all be excluded, and we'll issue a second substantial completion form for, I think the biggest piece of it is the site work, so we'll issue a separate, substantial completion. So this basically, what it does is it ties, you know, all the warranties and things to this particular date, so. So this, and I have it here if anyone wants to take a look at it, but,
Cause the clock starts.
The clock starts in more than, and in addition to what Jen just mentioned, the clock starts as in the utilities are now in the name of the town. You know, it's basically your building now, insurance. I've been, you know, contacting Holly and Carter and we've been telling them about, okay, you've gotta get your insurance going for the building, because now you have all this furniture in there and equipment that's belongs to you, and of course, the building now
Yeah.
sort of belongs to you. It's not completely turning it over to you, but it's just the way,
The way it
this is the
works.
way that, you know, this business works with substantial completion, different things happen, and that's one of them. So there's that responsibility, along with
And there's,
warranty
yeah,
starting.
obviously ongoing, you know, through to when school opens, you know, where, there'll be lots of activity in terms of even just furniture still being moved in. We've got all our technology equipment that will be moving in as well, but, so this is kind of the first
Insurance on
step
it.
in the final sort of
We have insurance, we,
closeout
yeah,
completion.
Anne Marie is
process.
already
Oh, okay.
contacted. We're in, the insurance piece, of
Yep.
course, is the school's
Yep.
responsibility, so, Anne Marie and I, or Anne Marie has already contacted and
Oh, okay.
moving that forward, so that's,
Okay.
All right.
we've already talked to our insurance agent, you know, Maya. Exception, so.
So I don't know if we need a motion or if we
Yeah.
need to,
I guess to,
Oh, okay.
maybe to accept.
or
Is
to,
that-
Accept it.
Can we
yeah.
see what I'm just
Yep.
curious, I'd like to see what the unfinished parts are, I think.
Yeah, so this is, and actually, I didn't print out, cause the punch list that we've created is like 50 pages, and then their work
Okay.
to complete list, so I don't have that attached.
All right, well, obviously,
But-
whether we discuss it now, and my concern is what's happening with the maintenance shed slash building slash,
Well, right, well, that obviously is I mean, it's a separate issue, but it's tied into the school, obviously.
I just wanna make sure it's being pursued, like
Well, yeah.
I did go to talk with the building inspector about it,
Yep.
so.
So, I mean, as far as tying it to that, it's not part of the project right now. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to be, but just, it's not in the contract documents right now, so that
This is,
wouldn't.
I understand what you're
yeah.
saying, okay, so this is totally separate. I guess
Yeah, no,
I
we're
just-
still pursuing that, and Peter's getting me a sketch that we can, and I can go to the building inspector with you, but basically outlaying where those two parking, you know, I know that with that particular shed, we need to make sure that we've got the same amount of parking spaces. I think that's one of their concerns.
Well, that's
So
the
we're,
other-
that's
and the
the,
other
the layout of how
subject,
we
yeah, so.
address that, and, so I talked to Peter Glick, our civil engineer, today, and he had looked at it. He's issuing a sketch to show that we can begin the discussions. I mean, I think that's, something that I know the planning board's gonna be concerned about, so we just.
Well, that's what,
Yeah.
Richard Hanks told me, he says we're gonna have to make a presentation to the planning board on that, and
Yeah.
it's starting another phase, but I just
Yeah.
don't want it to get forgotten.
Yeah.
That's
we'll
kinda
help
critical to me.
Move that along, yeah.
And one thing.
School's critical to Emily, I got maintenance to worry about.
Yeah. Understood.
You know, before, Chris, you get into the other thing,
Mhm. Yeah.
parking lot. If your concept does fly, whether we need to
See this?
go to the additional cost of putting we were gonna put 2 spots in where the original layout was gonna be, that I showed you guys way back when, right next to the loading dock, behind the
Right.
generator.
Yes.
That's, I believe, right, the
Yeah.
little
I think-
carve-out spot,
Yes.
he was gonna put 2 spots to make up for the 2 for the maintenance shed. And obviously, we got curb there, and, there's gonna be landscaping there already in place, and all has to be undone, this cost. Whether or not, if this other thing flies, not knowing the timing, which you'll pick up more than 2 spots, will that suffice, and you can leave that alone? I'm just
Yeah,
throwing that idea out there, or do we do both? I don't know.
yeah.
Is this what we were talking about across the street?
Well,
So-
maybe this is the time if you want.
Right, so if this conversation started beyond, how this started, was obviously the fire chief, and I believe it was Emily and Rick, and whole bunches of people were just, we're talking about just looking at the whole layout, and so, of course, parking has been, one of a major focal points, for this project, or the lack thereof, depending on who you speak to, so. It was suggested that across, basically, right across the South Road, by the fire department. The fire department's here, obviously, and there's some trees here, it's a 2 trees and some land. You know, again, I wouldn't be able to really qualify it, but there's some space there that obviously, the town owns, I'm gonna assume, and certainly the school doesn't own it, like the fire department, I mean, this would get into a lot. But there is a potential there, we feel, that there's parking spots could be, made there. I don't know how many, it's hard to say, and that would relieve some of the potential pressure on the existing parking and trying to find parking spots at these, in these precarious places. So we think that it's relevant enough to at least investigate it. We should definitely approach this is going to be a much bigger conversation. So it's hard, Matt, to answer that question, at least from my perspective, is like, well, gee, would you just stick with those 2? I don't know. I think I would take the bird in the hand, take the 2, right, and then see if it's even a possibility. I think they would benefit the public, because everyone's worried about parking, and everyone's worried about parking on the side of the road, and, it's gonna clog up South Road. So I think that everyone has a vested interest in this. The project, of course, would pay for it, et cetera. So again, I think just putting it out there now, like in a formal sense, I think we should look into it. I clearly don't know what lies ahead, in terms of what could you do actually.
So there's 2 small pieces that might resolve this for right now. One is allowing, now that we know we can allow people to temporarily park along, what road heads out?
The left-hand side?
The Wellington,
South or
South Road.
Wellington?
The
South
road-
Road's in front of the school, Wellington's down on the backside.
Okay, so Wellington, where parent pickup and drop-off is gonna be, during the day, that area will be available for visitors for short-term parking. If things stay configured the way they are, we just did a count yesterday, we'll have 66 employees, that's if everybody's there, and we have 85 parking spots.
85?
Yes. As long as what I have is to scale, which was the,
Well, you can count them, I mean, it's
Yes.
to scale enough that if you count them all.
yep, so if even for now, we need to take up 2 parking spots, we still have,
I think it's more of a planning board, I'm not
Oh,
sure
yeah.
they're
Yeah,
gonna
well,
care if you have 66 employees and 80, I think they want the
oh,
parking
Yeah.
spaces,
They would have-
so.
they would
Because
have-
then there are
Inspectors'
events
Concerns were,
that they probably are thinking about too.
Yeah, I think there are so I think it is gonna be important for them. I think if this parking lot across the street helps us to alleviate some of that and to give us another option to be able to present to them.
but I was thinking if that's not gonna happen quickly, so if we need a place to put a maintenance shed,
Right, may have to bite the
Till.
bullet.
Yeah.
Put the 2 spots in where SMMA is considering, and if for some reason, by the time we get around to all, and let's just say they bless it, say, yeah, sure, you can do that. By the time we get around to it, for whatever reason, happens to coincide with this other thing because it went faster than we thought, you might stop to at least ask the question, okay, we just picked up, 15 spots across the street. Can we get away with not adding the 2 over here?
right?
Yeah.
If the answer's no, then you just keep on going with your plan. If yes, you may have saved some money.
We need to start that process,
You don't wanna
obviously.
hold it up.
Yeah, I think we go forward, right?
Yeah.
We go forward.
What's the first step in the process for you, is that?
Well, I-
what
yeah.
the building inspector told me is I need some type of plan to present to the planning board.
Right, yeah, for that part, but for the parking lot
Oh,
across the street piece.
Well, honestly, I literally would have to take a step back and ask. I'd have to really kind of get a tutorial on that. I'm not sure exactly whom to contact first, whether, I just sat through a select board meeting and watched a tree hearing, literally for the first time. It was very interesting, and I think that obviously there's that piece. I'm not really sure who to start with, to be honest with you. Jen, I know that we would
Who
have to.
owns the land?
Yes, we
Maybe
believe
the-
the town.
Okay, the
It's
town.
around the fire department. It's.
So I think
yeah.
it's probably, maybe, I don't know if it's a Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I'll
that
talk to, well,
decide,
who I'm gonna
yeah.
speak to, obviously, is I'm gonna speak to the town administrator. I'm gonna talk to Carter, and just to see where I would start, obviously, and then go from there.
What about the idea of, since that could take time, of a temporary parking there to alleviate some of the problems, like, I mean, it's only an asphalt curb.
Oh, I see,
You
right,
bust the
yeah.
curb down, you throw some stone between the two trees, and you pick up, I don't know, half a dozen parking spots. Worst is you've screwed up some grass, you know, cheap fix, if it doesn't fly as a
Right.
permanent thing. But for the time being,
Yeah.
maybe you can use it for a parking area.
Yeah.
Again, just the.
I think what I'll do is, I will tomorrow send an email to Carter, just to see,
Yeah. See what they say.
explain the situation, obviously, and then give the kind of the two options, and then I'll CC everybody, so that way, any response back will come back to the group.
All right, do I have a motion for the substantial completion documents? Accept.
So
So
move.
moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else, Jen, or?
I don't have anything else other than,
No, don't
like I
think
said, we're, technology, equipment, there was bidding on the AV systems and
Oh,
equipment that, we'll be awarding later this week, so, moving forward on that process as well, so.
I had two quick things.
Mhm.
One of them was, I sent an email just so I wouldn't forget to bring it up, but I think a few meetings back, we talked about the building being called Templeton Elementary School,
Yes.
and that needs to be Templeton Center School,
Okay.
is what I just learned today.
Okay.
Okay, we have
Okay.
structure on the front of the building
Right.
to carry a particular type of you know, particular words already.
That's what I
Um,
thought.
So that may have to be modified,
And the
and the sign.
monument sign.
It's
and-
actually on the original documents for, going back to.
Yeah, but
Oh,
we
yeah.
actually, I remember in a building committee meeting, it was voted that it was gonna be Templeton Elementary School, so that's what we proceeded with in the,
That's right,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
right? That's
Right.
correct.
So if it goes back, that's fine, we just need to, there's some things
It's
that we
Templeton
need to
Elementary.
immediately.
That's what you voted on, the Templeton Elementary,
Right.
not
Right, but
Templeton
you're
Center.
saying
So what are you
it's gonna be
saying?
Templeton.
No.
So-
It's supposed to be Templeton Center
Well,
School?
it came up this week about it being called
Oh, I see
Templeton
what
Center
I'm sorry, I
School
missed.
in the district
In
regional
the-
agreement.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
And,
It's just so I get my, because I don't want to get turned around here, hold on.
Yep.
I'm going to, I have the agreement right here. I need to find it, but I'll get it.
Templeton Center School?
Which is what it was before.
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
basically,
You want the old sign back? Go back over. We'll mount that up, a little bit, a few screws. and-
Put it up.
Here we go.
Tell him he can
Yeah,
keep the
instruction,
sign, but we
PL
want to
200.
talk
Let
back.
the table hold it right up there.
So,
That
The big
is-
sign
oh.
in the front.
Yeah, yeah,
That
the
one,
two and
the one up
monument sign.
above.
statement.
So is that probably already
Yeah.
created?
Hold on.
It hasn't been
Really?
installed yet, but I'm sure it's been
Material-
fabricated.
What material is it made out of?
It's aluminum, it's, stainless steel, those letters are.
Granite.
Yeah, and the monument sign's granite, but those letters are actually probably, the lettering's
All of it,
not,
East
but.
Templeton.
I don't know how
It's
that will
Templeton.
affect utilities, whether they've been, if that really matters, how they put it, what name they're in.
Templeton Center School's
Oh.
gone.
Oh,
Mac can always be changed, but it just,
I mean, it's gone, so it's
Step.
not
So
like
it-
the Templeton Center School anymore.
I think that's what, yeah.
I
So,
mean, that's fine that they want
Yeah.
that, but yeah.
Save some of the letter at Templeton. It's basically just swapping out elementary for center.
Well,
Some of
who's
the
saying
letters.
but they're probably made by now.
Yeah, the good
They
thing about the
should be made
detail
by
is
now, 'cause if
it's
we
a
wanted to
plate
put
and
them
they
up-
all just get mounted on a plate
Mhm.
and that's
Right.
what gets attached, so hopefully.
the group tomorrow.
Nice.
actually, you just need a C and an extra R. You're
Right,
good.
So just two letters.
We're good.
Just worked it out? There you go.
And you can keep an
Individual
E for your.
There you go.
A spare E, just in case.
Emily.
Perfect, hey, there you go.
Emily, yeah.
I'll put it on my back
I guess
door.
it's first we just,
You have plenty of
Maybe
room in
need-
your office for
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
to know for sure if
Yeah.
that's the
Gotta
change.
get tempered glass, 3M glass in your office.
It's one of the vulnerable points of the building.
Well,
So
I'm looking right at it. I'm looking at the regional agreement. So it lists all the schools that no longer exist, quite frankly. East Templeton, you know, but it says, in the Templeton Center School. In the regional agreement, pardon me. So.
Okay.
I think that,
That's when you had 3 schools in Templeton.
Right.
right, and no, absolutely. So East Templeton is in here.
This was a school one.
Yeah, Baldwinville, obviously.
Otter River.
Yeah, so just in here, though, it's just the 3 schools.
Yeah, 'cause this was updated once we had got
Once you get rid of it.
released out of River, when it went
Yep.
back to the town. So,
Yeah.
well, we shared it with the town for office building.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So is that, are we being directed then to make the change, whatever it has to be changed?
Again, I think that's wouldn't that be a selectman issue?
I would say so.
Yeah. they-
Really, so I think that what I'll,
It's
well,
because it's a
tomorrow.
town project, so selectmen's gotta make that call.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Like anything, I mean, sooner rather than, if you see this Templeton Elementary
Well,
School
tomorrow
sign
is the
up
select board.
tomorrow, we'll.
Yeah, I won't make it to the,
Don't-
I won't be able to,
Yeah, don't.
to
put it up
petition
yet.
the group tomorrow. They have a meeting tomorrow. So it'll have to be the next meeting, which will be, what's that? 2 weeks. The-
July
Yeah, whatever next Wednesday.
Whatever, July, I think it's July,
3rd, would be July 3rd would be
July
the
3rd.
first Wednesday. in
July 4th is a Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So would the office be closed for the 3rd?
Or the 5th, it might be.
I don't okay, I don't know, but I'll have to figure out the schedule. Meaning, I don't know if they're on the 3rd or the,
So they made a sign up already?
Well,
It's not up yet, but it's been fabricated and it's ready.
26th of June?
Oh, we could put on the back door.
Large letters,
No,
though.
We might think it's the
Large,
26th of
yes.
June, so we might,
Individual
Send something
letters
to Joel, tell him
Oh.
just whenever
that'll
they
stand
plan on
up
putting it up.
on top of the.
I will, yeah, I'll look on the
Okay.
site.
Off until July.
I believe it might be the 26th, maybe I can get on the, calendar then,
That,
Mm.
but-
which of course is the selectmen
Hmm.
board, school committee meeting, but, okay.
As well as the other, Brandon's.
Yeah.
School committee, 26th?
Yep, let me just double, select board. Okay, I'll get you the date, so if you guys want.
And maybe internally, like the fact that we have all these monitors throughout the building, I would think there'll be something at some point saying, welcome to
Uh-huh.
Templeton, you know, that who's ever gonna program that kind of stuff, that they're gonna be in the loop of
Yeah.
Shane.
welcoming to Templeton Elementary School.
Right. Most, anybody who's been here for any amount of time has been calling it Templeton Center School.
Sure.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so,
June 26th is the next meeting.
What's next Wednesday?
All right.
Next one. You're right.
I have, I
Got
have
it.
one more wrench
We
to
have it.
throw.
No, I have a wrench to throw
No.
at.
Okay, we'll end with Rick then. So
Karen.
shelving
Oh, I've got that, okay.
is a huge concern. Lack of shelving is a huge concern. And I don't know where we go with that. I know, I guess there'd been some in the plans previously, and then they were,
It was an add-on.
It was an alternate.
It's an alternate.
it's an alternate, okay. But,
But that was only one small.
yeah,
That wouldn't have
bookcase.
solved the problem.
It wouldn't have, yeah.
okay.
I'm not sure of the issue, so I don't, I mean, I replied to your email today with basically what they're getting from our board, tack board, and cabinets and
Right.
things.
So
Chris and I
ultimately,
talked about it.
right, so what we did is, as we all know, that was the old, I think forgot which number, we took it off, because we were worried and all that stuff about the monies and all that. So what I did is I met with, it just happened to be a elementary PD with every one of those teachers that are going to be in the building. And I simply asked, I spoke with Matt very quickly and said, I don't know how to gather, what kind of information to gather, so simply we just asked them, how many shelves are you using right now in your current room? Now, remember, there is no shelving built in. So they, for example, Ms. Gilson has 2 two of these were 3 shelves by 8 feet wide. Okay, so that's exactly in their X amount tall. So-
24 feet of shelving.
Exactly, so every teacher gave us the shelving that they currently utilize, so that there could be a linear kind of okay, this is what we have, and this is what is being utilized, not necessarily needed, and I was very clear about that. So, the way I see it, as I explained to Matt, there were a couple of options. One, we could look into putting back at alternate 4 or whatever it was with the shelving and looking at that. 2, they'll make do with, they're used to it, make do with what they have already, whatever's in the room right this minute. Or 3, the way, can they, because half these teachers said, I'll just let me take what I have. I'll just bring it with me. In other words, we're not looking for anything, we'll just bring it with us. So I said, this is what I would do, is that these 3 options that we have, that I've loosely brought forth here, is that, to measure everything out, right, to get the whole linear, then, oh geez, in between the window, and maybe I can go 6 feet, then I have to get a stool. We talked about these kind of circular stools. I think that the folks are not looking for anything beyond just what they have, what they literally currently have. We just told them, and we were very strict about, nothing goes with them, because it's a new building. Do you see what I'm saying? So
That's excluding them from, that's up to
I mean,
you all.
we could look, based on that list, we could look at each room and say, okay, you need 85 linear feet, but in this room, the way it's laid out with windows and everything, the best you could get is 42.
Right.
And they get 42 when they make do with it, if we decide to,
Right.
buy some shelving
Yeah.
of sorts.
I mean, there is some shelving that's.
They know that, and they
Yeah.
know that wasn't in the rooms when they went through, because literally, these things are just being staged someplace. One room had 11 of them. One room didn't have them because they're just moving them down the hallway or whatever. So they understand that. But let me just say for the record that no one is asking for anything beyond, the fact that they would gladly just take the bookcases with them, and they're happy to do that. Or whatever the committee or the project team thinks.
And because they have a library now. They have purged so much of their classroom books to go down to the library. This is really what they're looking to hold, is just materials that they really are using on a pretty regular basis.
Yep.
That they need quick access to.
We see what they're looking for in quantity. It may be a matter of just ordering some
Not a lot.
maple bookshelves.
Well, I think
instead
there's
of
a couple
buying-
different things here, because we need to make sure that there's actually space in the room. I mean,
Well,
like,
yeah, that's-
Right.
there may
Without
be
blocking
space for
windows and
additional
things
Well,
like that.
that's,
bookshelves. I mean, I think, but I also think, there are other additional flat surfaces in there, like there is the bench that's along the window wall that has open cubbies, but it is a bench, but there is a surface that if, they're trying to put
Utilize
bins or
space.
things that, there's the top of the cubby wall. There
They
also,
have
where the
it
cubbies are, there are, and which I didn't actually mention to you, there are a couple closed upper
Yes.
cabinets for storage.
Get some metal ones,
So-
or wheels, something they can push around out of the way. or something.
I'm not sure without maybe sort of test fitting it out and
Yeah.
having them get in there and see.
so next Wednesday, for example,
Yeah.
we have another professional development, they're coming back. Is Wednesday?
Yes. No, tomorrow.
Oh.
It's
th-
tomorrow,
It's
Wednesday.
Wednesday, sorry. Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow they'll all be back.
Yep.
If you wanted me to, or you wanted to ask questions directly or whatever to get kind of a real sense, I mean, depending on the grade level, you can tell, right? The
Yeah.
younger they are, the more stuff that they, that they need. So, we could do it any other way, anyway. We can show, they're still in the classrooms, they didn't bring them home, because they haven't yet moved all their stuff out of their old
Yeah.
rooms, no matter where they were at, so.
And who's to say that what they have will fit
Well,
without blocking
and that's
windows
one of the things we said very candidly is that, look, this is why they were originally gonna be built into the wall or on the wall, or whatever, so it saves floor space. right? Or at least maximize the floor space. So this, they will clearly do with whatever, which is really
Well,
not,
if you have a list of, I mean, it looks like you've documented a lot of that. I think it's just how much of it is books, how much of it is bins, how much of it is, and it's just
These
laying
are
out
books.
Yeah.
what we have, and, because it may be enough. I mean, it may be, I mean, they're probably doing linear footage now, but without,
Right.
I mean, knowing
Some
what
of
we
these
have
are
in our
around.
classrooms.
I could run
we
around
can-
tomorrow, just mock up a plan and say, you know, between these two windows, it's 4'6", we got 8'2" here, we got, you know, just to see what could fit without blocking windows if we were just covering every spot that was available.
I mean, some of these are very, very small. I mean, honestly, these are almost, some of these are just, they can almost fit anywhere, but they follow directions, but, that was just the, to the T, so, that was their concern.
Just a quick question, on the loam that's, or topsoil that's up at Gilman, how much is Gagliarducci gonna screen of that? Just
They
what they
can
need?
screen it all.
They can?
And take what they need, and the rest belongs to you, the town.
So they'll screen it all?
That was the deal, I believe.
Good, okay. That was just a quick question I
That
had.
was the only thing that made it palatable, you know, that you
Yeah.
would have screened loam, not his pile of
Yeah,
junk.
good,
Deal with
okay. It's nice stuff, so.
They're not going, like, the stuff we're using on site had to be amended with other
Right, a compost,
compost and,
Yeah.
you know, more potassium and whatever.
yeah.
They're not gonna be amending it.
No,
They're
that's
just gonna
fine.
screen it. I'm just trying to be clear.
Anything else?
Any other wrenches, Emily?
No, sorry, sir.
That's okay.
Dodge a wrench,
Screwdrivers,
dodge a
no.
ball.
That's right.
I mean, I think, yeah, if we have lists, Matt and I, between Matt and I, we can try to, with what's there now, and see what might be a problem.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, we're adjourned.